Right now, Canada's Minister of Democratic Institutions, Monsef, has embarked on a cross-country tour to figure out what Canadians think about electoral reform. You know, this is the government's big plan. Instead of having a referendum, let's find ways to have private conversations with people at these town hall meetings and hope that we'll find a substantive way to do what the government already knows it's going to do anyway. Now, some of these consultations have been very ill-fated, such as not having anyone showing up or not having any translators handy to actually let people who speak the local languages deal with them. But still, this was part of what the government said was very important to figure out what ordinary, average, everyday Canadians are doing. Well, months before this process started, which went over the summer months, Monsef had a meeting in Ottawa with government stakeholders where we paid for the breakfast. 74 representatives of the Government of Canada had breakfast at the parliamentary restaurant, and during which Minister Monsef had actually expensed $1,578 plus tax, so almost $1,800 total, with the goal of, well, doing exactly that, meeting with stakeholders. What the government has been doing all this summer, they say. Well, there was scant detail on the expense summary that was filed by the government, by Monsef, but we do know that that works out to be a little bit over $21 per person, so not terribly outrageous, although when we're dealing with a government breakfast, frankly, why not a bagel and a coffee? But I reached out to Minister Monsef's office to figure out what it was that was actually going on at that meeting, and I got a statement back. I'm going to read that for you. The hospitality expenditure referenced in the Minister's proactive disclosure relates to a roundtable discussion at the Sir John A. Macdonald Building hosted by Minister Monsef in the morning of January 26th for a group of 74 parliamentarians from all political parties to discuss democratic reform. Engaging with fellow parliamentarians from across party lines is a key component of the minister's responsibilities as cabinet minister, and having all public parties participate is consistent with the attitude of the government towards this file. Well, the fact is, MPs are supposed to be debating and discussing these issues anyway. This is why we have committee. This is why we have the House of Commons. This is why we have the duties of Parliament already. So why do we need to have a special meeting? And more importantly, if this is about Canadian democracy, how we vote for MPs, why is the focus not squarely on what everyday Canadians are thinking? Remember, this meeting happened in January, which is more than half a year before this sham of a public consultation process around the country actually started. I've talked to people that have gone to these things and seen little more than a one-sided discussion where the government explains what it's doing, not actually figuring out what Canadians want. The fact is, there's a way to figure that out, and that is a referendum. But that's less important than a parliamentary breakfast on your and my dime. For the Rebel.media, I'm Andrew Lawton. The government might not be listening to you, but we are, so if you want to see more great content holding the government to account, visit us at therebel.media, find all sorts of great stuff, and truly, you should become a premium member. You get access to shows you'll never see anywhere else, and it is worth it. You can find out how to do that at therebel.media.